right, everyone. Hey, thanks for coming by this evening. I'm in Wood Lane, known as the Gig Geezer, and this is my first live stream. My guest is queued up in the green room, as what we'll call it. Steve Rideshare Rodeo Johnson. He has agreed to be suffering along with me for this first one. Like I said, truth be said, I last did podcasts on the Blog Talk Radio um, uh, platform back between 2009 2010. There was no video element, and so I am fully now into the 21st century. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is bring in Steve Rideshare Rodeo Johnson. We've got the split screen. There you go. We're going to try to do about an hour, Steve. So you've already done one. I was listening in.
Yeah, my voice is all warmed up.
Yeah.
Or as good as it can be anyway this week. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm doing a lot better. My voice was hoarse as can be.
Good.
But I do feel honored, and a lot of you guys might not even know. So a lot of his background is he's done traditional media, he's done other podcasts. He's just been in this space of like, I search news and I do that kind of stuff, and a lot of channels don't do that. So I've always kind of had a different respect for you than maybe other people do, and so I don't know. I'm honored to be here. So.
Well, hey everyone, I'm typing in hey everyone now. Let's see, we've got Bubba Sue. I'm listening. I know Cyril the Mage is there. We go way back. The Hire, SB, Delivering with Ellen, and Rideshare Road Warrior Rick. Hey y'all, thanks for coming through here. I'm just gonna talk a little more about some of my background. I've mentioned, Steve knows that my formal background is in media. I was a newspaper reporter in print media for about 15 years. And back around 2008 was when I first was exposed to Blog Talk Radio. And I did my first podcast then. And the podcast I had was a weekly one that appeared on Wednesday nights. And it was very popular. There were like 25, depending on which zero, but let's say at least 2,500 shows that was on that medium, and my show peaked at number 3 out of all those shows at one time. So I know how to do this stuff. So and back then you had there was your keyboard, your computer screen was your switchboard. So when all the calls would come in, I'm commandeering that. And then you're having conversations on landline phones. So that's kind of the way it was.
You're telling me about all these things I know too, and I'm wondering how many people out there are like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, this is 15. Oh yeah, that's right. Or a real phone. Now here's the funny thing. Now I'm not gonna tell Steve's age, but I am older than Steve by at least a decade. And so
just a little bit.
And so I know about the rotary dial phones and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Listen, make sure you heart the live stream and share with a friend. Yeah, that's right. Really, Cyril? Oh, hey, yeah. Like I said, I know a lot about Cyril. So
anyway. She already put it out there in the chat.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she already said.
Steve, do you drive the Sprinter van? No, I'm the one to drive the van. Hire, I'm the one that has the van.
In fact, when I've had you on before, I've talked about doing it, but now I'm at a point of things would need to change a lot before I'd
yes, absolutely
jump down that hole.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it right now. In fact, I'll probably be doing a video at some point. Right now, the way the market is, stick with what you got right now. I mean, you may, if depending on your market situation, you may move up with something, but it's kind of hard right now.
Oh yeah.
So this thing is finally looping. So when I'd been practicing, I was trying to find if this music actually loops. Hey y'all, do you want me to take just cue down the music? Let's do it like that. We'll cue it down like that, so it's not going to overwhelm the conversation. I like music in the background.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah. Is Sprinter Van delivery doing good right now? No. I'm making probably my worst money since the beginning of 2020 right now.
But I did see you're making your run for 6 figures again.
Yes, I'm actually within 8,000 of it now. I'm in the 7,000 high 7,000s. SB, I turned it down because I didn't want to overwhelm everybody, but it's in the background. That's what I was talking about there. Can you hear it now? But I'm going to cue it back down because we're going to go through some conversation here. At least I hear.
Is that what you uploaded? That's not a StreamYard preloaded.
No. This is music that I paid subscription for.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's royalty. You know, it's all good there on my part. Okay, yeah, all right, there you go, SB. So go listen to the radio. All right, well, Steve, I did mention what's going on, y'all, is that I told Steve that we would have 3 topics that we would talk about. I've got a 4th one written down though, but these are some of the things that he's actually talked about in some of his recent 13 installments. And so he didn't talk about it with the live stream that he was just on. Cray, hey, thank
Cray.
you. Thank you, Cray. There you go. See, I even got that going there. There you go. Cray, thank you very much. She's when I used to hang out with Mr. Flex chat room, Cray. Cray.
She's awesome.
Is let's see, Red and the cast of characters over there is still doing the gig wars?
Yeah, they still do. I had the luck of meeting Cray last summer in Denver.
Okay. Oh, when you had the
in person,
when you had
it was pretty cool. She's cooler in person even than she is online. So,
all right. Daryl just subbed. Oh, hey, daughter, I see. I just let the cat out the bag. Daryl, he subbed. Rideshare Road Warrior said he just subbed to you. We've been working W2. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the Massachusetts question 3.
Yeah.
Now, from what I understand, it passed. It was voted on and passed 53-46.
Yep.
And I wrote down some notes. The key terms are Transportation Network Initiative, Transportation Network Drivers Initiative. That was question 3. Yep. And then driver organizations. That is the term for unions.
Yes.
And the Employment Relations Board would be the arbiter, which, according to the text that I've read, would be permitted to take action, including awarding compensation to adversely affected drivers.
Yep.
So that's some of the background. Now, I'm going to say this. At least one of my notes is that I think the governor and lieutenant governor put it to vote to cover their own asses.
There's a lot of dirt here. So first of all, I don't know if you know this. I do a podcast on Mondays with Mike Karubi. He's been dealing with federal legislation. He lives in Massachusetts. He's been dealing with federal legislation in DC for decades. And he decided, you know what? Or we were talking off camera, and for that channel, he said, you know what? I will. And I told him, read the ballot question, because the ballot initiative 3 is 7,500 plus words. It's longer than the Constitution, and that's for one ballot question. There's a 290 word sentence in there.
Yeah,
I don't
continuous.
I don't know if any of us had a teacher that wouldn't call that a run-on, even without reading it. I can say that's absolutely a run-on.
I mean, if it has a correct syntax and punctuation, that means it's going to have a lot of semicolons. So, but I'll put it like this: if I was a newspaper reporter, they would have broken that thing up in about 6 paragraphs.
My point being, it was meant not to be read.
Mm-hmm.
They wrote this. They didn't want you reading it. The biggest problem here is who you were referring to, Governor Maura Healey. She used to be the Attorney General. When she got elected to governor, she was still in this battle with Uber and Lyft, and now it's Andrea Campbell that's the Attorney General, who's equally as bad as her about this union push, and which is fine if that's the direction they went after. But first, it was this new law, and I think that some of the best people that I've seen challenging this in a very respectable way is, why didn't they let the dust settle and try what they made law first, which was an agreement they've been working on for 4 years with Uber and Lyft. It's pretty much like Prop 22, a guaranteed active time earned minimum wage, which means a floor meets ceiling, some help with a health stipend. Nothing really like stood out as like something banging, but they wanted this passed. They did. They asked for 6 things. Uber and Lyft gave it to them. Uber and Lyft asked for 1. They said, that's fine. We'll give you these 6 things. You can't unionize, though. That's the deal. And then within 10 days, they put it on the ballot initiative a month and a half before the vote. This 7,500 word.
And there were various things.
What this is.
There were various things that were already supposed to be going into effect, like a $32.50 an hour minimum wage that's based on active time. So that's when you are actually looking for rides, or what it's from when you pick up somebody.
But it's actually from when you get the ping and you accept it. So you actually do get paid that time to go get them too. But I know drivers in Boston, they all make more than $32.50 an hour. So I mean, it sounds like a lot. And the other thing is, a lot of news played it like, you can make $32.50 an hour. I bet you some people quit their job and we're like, I'm going to just go work for. It's not like that.
No.
The volume goes. They pass it on to the customer and all this, that, and the other. And it did go in effect on August 1st. It is in effect.
Right. And then there's also earned sick pay, some form of family leave.
You can get a total of 5 days. To me, that's
a form of medical stipend. This doesn't really change the employment status, though.
But the other thing too about the medical stipend, I've talked to enough people now. Like, I know a bunch of drivers there, and Mike lives there, and some other people. I guess Massachusetts is one of the best states to live in to get free medical. I guess everybody gets it there. I'm not really sure how it works, so I don't want to get into that. But if somebody knows, like, you get it in Massachusetts.
In California, when I would see folk from a couple years ago, when they put out their channels and all, they're talking about that medical stipend. They took it as like revenue, actual income. They treated it. So, I mean, that I guess you do what you do, though. But what I found interesting, though, was how they somewhat put things together. And correct me if I'm wrong, though, but first of all, you have to determine who are the active drivers in putting this thing together. So drivers must complete a certain number of rides over the previous 6 months, of which 5% of these active drivers have to submit signed authorization that gives the union access to a list of all drivers. So that means
it's actually harder than that.
Okay, that's what I read off of it.
So here's how it is. They need 5% of the active drivers. Now, to be active, we would all think that just means you're on the app, right? You have the app, you're active on it. No, active now has an amount of trips per 6 months or per 3 months, and those are the people that they're gonna use for the piece of pie that they're going to be looking for. Out of that group, out of people that have done 100 or more rides in 6 months, which is going to be a lot, but it's going to realize too, this takes out all of the mothers and one-day part-timers that need this extra income. They now have no say in this. So they're going to pick, if they find 5%, which is going to, all you need to do is go to the airport for a day. You're going to have your 5%, because you can get people to sign who don't understand this. Then it allows the unions to battle it out. So once a union gets to 25% of the 100, or of the people who have done the 100 rides or more per 6 months, then any other unions have 7 days to come forward and challenge them. Otherwise, they become the union of record. Once they are the union, that 25% of the drivers from that 100 per 6-month queue are going to make the decisions for every driver on the platform.
Right. Okay, so now let's use some other numbers so folk can kind of visualize this. Let's say there are 1,000. We know it ain't 1,000 though, but 1,000 drivers that will be counted as active, and then of that 5%, which would be 50 drivers, got to kind of co-sign or authorize to saying
right. They're just kind of saying, yeah, we want these unions. Let's bring it on.
And then after that, that gives this organization a list of all supposedly active drivers. So that means they get access to Uber and Lyft's database of drivers.
Yep.
Okay. And then for this driver organization or union to be recognized, then 25% of all the active drivers would have to say, yes, we want this organization to represent us. But here's the thing though, if there's 25%, that means that if you can actually get just then a plurality and have it probably three driver organizations, potentially, if you throw those numbers out there.
Well, like that's why they have the showdown. Like the first one that gets to the 25%, any other groups have 7 days to come at them. And then they will just they'll have a vote on it or however they're going to do this. It's all weird. But I mean, nonetheless, in the end, people are going to have this forced on them. One of the biggest problems, though, is that this is going to cause, forget about the drivers for 1 second. It's going to cause chaos with all independent contractors because this doesn't work in any other way in that state for anybody else, a writer like you've been, things like that.
Right. Well, let's see. We've got some folk that have come through here. Let's see. Mr. DSN 189, Michael Manuel says, "What's good, geezer? It's good. The doctor says I'm doing good, and I'm not being sarcastic when I say that. I had a physical last week, and the doctor says, geezer, you're doing good for an old guy."
That's not what he said to him.
Yes, hey, I got the numbers to prove it, man.
No, I mean, he didn't say it to you that way.
No, but he said you're doing good.
He didn't use the old guy part.
No, he didn't. He didn't. In fact, Steve, I may make some people even mad though. I weighed in at a weight that is very comparable to what I weighed 20 years ago.
See, if you keep in good shape like he does, like I do, you don't have to. I was just seeing this thing on obesity in this country and just the foods we eat and stuff. So it's not even necessarily everybody's problem. But I did want to point this out. So here's, just so you guys know, here's the way that the 7,500 words were put on the ballot. And by the way, when you said those stats, the 53.8 yes, 46.2 no, I think that's pretty close. Maybe I'm not, maybe
that's along the lines like, candidates. So yeah.
But I mean, like in a state like Massachusetts, I expected that to be way more yes, even though I don't think it's a good thing. But the question reads very simply. So 7,500 words are turned into this, which is very deceiving. Should rideshare drivers have the right to form unions? That's what you saw when you went in to vote, yes or no. And that's why I think it's deceiving, because should rideshare drivers have the right to form unions? If you don't do rideshare, it sounds like an option. Sure, they should have the right to do it. Does it not, or is that just me? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm kind of like this on unions, and maybe I'm not listening correctly though. But I know what unions have done for people, at least traditionally.
Sure,
but unions ain't done jack for me, man.
No,
not in my experience. But I understand what they have done though for the workplace, and so I just wish that. I guess what it amounts to is that I wish there was better representation within the union where you see more results, at least in the places, the situations that I've been in. So,
I mean, but even that, it's more traditional sense, right? Like firemen and police and education, teachers and things. Those unions maybe have had bad days and good days, but you can't, these rideshare drivers are just looking for a good option. Just the first thing you should realize is unions aren't free. Like,
No,
you're absolutely going to be paying for this. So if you think you're getting more money, you're not. You're actually going to be paying more money to another party now. And we know how the gig apps work. They're absolutely going to charge the customers more. They're going to be passing along everything they can.
Yeah.
Paying drivers less. You know, making it sure that they hit their $32.50 per active hour, and they'll control your active hours. I don't know. I'm not a fan of any of this.
Well, Bubba Sue says she's not anti-union, but unions don't belong in the independent contractor world.
Yeah.
Ellen says that it's deceiving.
Yeah.
And you could very well be right about that. Again, I'm
just saying, even the wording of this,
right.
Should rideshare drivers have the right to form unions? If I'm not a rideshare driver and I'm in the ballot box, and this is 2/3 of the way down, and I'm like, sure, they should have that right. Why should a right be taken away from them? You know, like,
well, I mean, but I think you mentioned it, and I think there is some truth to it, though, that unions gives the connotation of being an actual employee, and so that's deceiving, which would Ellen would say.
Yeah.
I know that there are associations, you know, a collective that could be done in which but this is not my expertise. I tend to tune out on something like this, though. I guess I'm guilty of just trying to make my money, and that's it. Can y'all hear me well in the chat? Can y'all hear me well?
I hear you perfect.
Okay.
Maybe I'm not I feel like I'd be able to know.
Okay. I mean, do I sound like? Does this sound like an actual podcast voice or sound?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. I tested this out for the past week.
Yeah. No, it'll sound perfect. So.
Alrighty. So now the next thing that I think a lot of folk would probably talk about or would maybe some interest to people is about DoorDash. I mean, DoorDash is, I mean, it's easy to say that DoorDash is, all right, wait a minute, let's see. Gotta go, have a great stream. Yes, we can hear you. Daughter, thank you. I will be calling you tomorrow. And
she's probably not really gonna leave. She's gonna be
she is.
She just wants like to listen and
no, I mean she'll lend me some critiquing. I promise you, she will. Everybody loves Raymond Picard Jr., my man. Fist bump, Raymond Picard Jr. Everybody's loved Raymond. He's probably been one of he's definitely been a supporter of the Gig Geezer channel. So I just happened to notice the name there. But DoorDash, rogue company. That's probably putting it nice though. But DoorDash has given up some money over the years. I'm going to go over the list of thank you, man. Thank you, Mr. Picard. Lizbel, thanks for coming. Are you leaving, Lizbel? If you're not, thanks for coming in. But if you are leaving, still, thanks for coming in. Hopefully, y'all be checking out the next live. You'll be checking out the next live stream. DoorDash paid $375,000 earlier this year about selling personal information. They got hand slapped in 2021 for misclassifying employees, and that was $5.3 million. And then the most recent one that I've seen is the most recent one is the one that you talked about in your 13, in which Mr. DSN 189, thanks for coming through. Hopefully you liked it. If you did, hey, do what we always talk about. And I'm going to actually put it across there on the.
That's Derek. Mr. DSN is Derek from Denver. He's in my mark.
Okay.
So.
Derek, man. Okay. Thanks for coming by. But
I think he watches your channel already. So
hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, share, and comments in the section below. That's right. What I may do though is move the time up an hour So because I know that, hey, we all have our bedtime. I've been up all day today, but when I did the blog talk radio, I did it at 9 o'clock Eastern. So that may be the time frame once I start.
Yeah, I
Once I
think
really
after
start getting
that
going.
you might start losing people.
Now,
People start fading, especially people like you and I. At least like we're not door dashing, getting up at noon. We're getting up at, I don't know about
right.
you, but like 4 in the
Well,
morning, 4:30 for me.
yeah, yeah. Um, Now I'm telling on there. I'm telling on him though, but I set it at this time, 10 Eastern, 10:15 tonight to accommodate for Steve.
Yeah.
So that's why we did it at this time hour. Next time, man, you're gonna have to just. But anyway, DoorDash, $11.25 million settlement
Yep.
from its wrongdoing for stealing tips. Now, this is something that Instacart got in trouble for back in 2022, or at least 2020. It got in trouble for that. And then more famously, Amazon Flex got in trouble for that, paying out $65 million back in 2021.
Yep.
So this is a common Rick, no, you're still on. Okay. This is a common behavior by many of these companies. They use the tips to subsidize really what they should be paying themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I even the language, this is a quote from what DoorDash said, because this is 97 through 99 or 2017 through
2017
to 2019. I already know from a conversation with the FTC that David and I had last year on October 29th, we already know they're going after Illinois even again. So within the next month, they're going to have a 2020 to current slapped on them for about 4 times this much. But DoorDash this is their quote, encourage customers to tip as much as possible, indicating that all of their tip would go to the workers. Instead, by putting tips toward driver pay, this is the Attorney General. By putting tips towards the driver pay, DoorDash could get away with contributing as little as $1 towards a worker's pay and allow tips to make up the rest. So I mean, beyond deceiving. To me, this is fraud. This is all kinds of things. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, but they were very happy to write the check. This is the fine. Most places would fight it, and they're just waiting for a judge to sign off and pay the $11.25 million.
And last I checked, DoorDash is a $9 billion company based on its valuation, at least with its paperwork that it's put out publicly. This is 2023. So now and this may tie into when I talk about GrubHub on the next topic though, but you mentioned about DoorDash and Federal Trade Commission. You had a discussion with them last year, and interestingly, I filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission back in 2022 on Instacart, because I felt that since March 2020 till the time I filed the complaint, I felt, in my estimation, that Instacart has stolen 50 million from drivers. Based
on tips or from
based on driver amounts, like for heavy pay, they were miles, things like that. And I actually did a video on that back in 2022, how I came up with my estimation though. But they sought you out. Is that right?
They sat us down. They've also talked to Sergio from the Rideshare guy. They've talked to Gary Middleton from GaryZapps.com this year. But this was last October. We were under a year NDA, David and I, because we were para, and we were scraping the data from DoorDash. We had already been sued by DoorDash twice, or told to take our stuff down. So when they brought us in, we had the lawyer check that this was not against us or anything. But they were asking some really straightforward, interesting questions. They were saying things like, well, tell us why you can't do what you were doing. And I remember David trying to explain it like, well, we're scraping the API and we're we're showing the full data, the miles, and the total amount that'll be paid, instead of just this plus a tip when that mattered. Remember when the hidden tip mattered?
Mm-hmm.
This is that time when the hidden tip mattered. We would show the whole amount, so people were loving it. They would take it or not take it based on that. And our argument was, why do you have, there was actually an amount we were presented with, I don't remember what it was, but out of their total coders, why were 2/3 of them, was our argument, assigned to hiding and deceiving, and the other 1/3 assigned to app upkeep?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have 2/3 of your coding team hiding and deceiving from your drivers.
That's 2/3 of your resources when you could be working on an app that has had a history of being unstable.
Yeah.
In terms of blowout, blackouts and all things.
But they really came down to the point of, one of the biggest things I remember from that conversation was, they're like, well, I don't get why you can't use a tool like that. And so there were other people in the discussion too, a couple people from the FTC who were saying, well, I mean, they shouldn't have the right to scrape the data of this company. And then there were other people arguing, like with us there, just, we were ready to chime in anytime needed, but they were already just kind of inner talking and saying, yeah, but under every state's independent contractor law, any independent contractor can use any and all tools at their disposal, free and clear of the hiring entity.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing though. You having a conversation with them, and they're like gathering, they're really fact gathering and all.
Yeah.
So I know that you've been kind of measured with what you've shared so far though, but there has to be some real I don't know if they really revealed their hand to you though, but were there signs?
No, I'm sure they didn't show, but okay. I mean, we could I understood what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure that I don't have any of the total details, but they were exposing enough where I was like, they have them. I was already thinking then, you have them. Like, the things they were saying, they're like, well, they're not transparent, they're not honest. I mean, they were using some pretty hard-hitting words.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. To me, like, I was able to read that room, I think, pretty well. And that room was not happy with the apps in general, but they were very dissatisfied with DoorDash.
Mm-hmm. Right. And well, if that's the case, then they're definitely lined up within their crosshairs. Now the question is, to what extent? And obviously, if they're already agreeing to 11.25 million, there's going to be some tens of millions that's going to come out of this, more than likely. Now, let's see here. I'm going back to a couple of folk. I had highlighted the quotes and all though, but B had asked, is DoorDash a good app to do now? and then my reply, although I know Raymond had given her a reply that was similar to mine, my reply is, like any app, DoorDash is what you make of it, but it's safe to say drivers are no more than a blip on their algorithm. That's my opinion. Have I made money on DoorDash? Yes. I mean, 1 year I made as much as 24,000 on that app. At one time, DoorDash was like, at one time for me, DoorDash was an app that you planned everything around. So, but not anymore, because I've branched off to other things though. So again, it's definitely based on what you make of it.
But also now, your market too.
Yeah. Bubba Sue says that these apps are market dependent. You have to see what's good in your market. That's kind of in part the reason why I kind of came out with the Gig Geezer channel. It wasn't so much as really to share with, it's these true tips and secrets and show the gray area. It was actually in my own way to show that, hey, I'm in Columbia, South Carolina. Columbia, South Carolina is a fraction of the size of Atlanta and Charlotte. And I was somehow able to put together making the same type of money as people in those markets. So that's an example of what you make of it. But still, I mean, I look at what's going on now, even in the last mile, niche within gig apps. That's what Steve is more into, just like I am. And you have certain parts of the country where certain apps are really hot. And then there are other parts of the country where other apps are hot. So yeah, I agree with you on that. Let's see here. Try Roadie in your market. Roadie's everywhere. I mean, it don't matter. Roadie's everywhere.
I think all of us have Roadie too. Like, I'm not a big fan, but I have it. It's true. You know what? If it's transparent and it doesn't have an acceptance rate, it has my approval. If there's no acceptance rate and it's fully transparent, I don't. They could pay a penny on every offer. You and I have talked about this. I just wouldn't take them.
Speaking of acceptance rate, no, it's not acceptance rate. What Uber Eats is doing, it's your rejection rate. If you have 20% or more than 20%, you may be deactivated. What's that?
Isn't rejection rate the same thing as acceptance rate?
No. Cancellation rate. Okay. Cancellation rate. That's what it is. I got a bunch of things.
I thought they were just wording it clever.
No, like, cancellation rate.
Same thing.
Uber Eats. I got an email saying December 5th, if your acceptance rate is more than 20%, so 21% or more, you may be deactivated. I'm at 23% right now, and so I gotta accept a few orders just to get out of that danger area. So you're on wait list for Roadie in Southern California. Okay, Rick. Rick, do you know? You don't know this though, but I went to high school in the Valley. I went to high school in Woodland Hills. And actually, I'll name drop another name. I think you've heard this one before, but one of my classmates was Daryl Strawberry. That's right.
Quit giving away your age.
Yeah. In fact, my high school classmate, if you're into jazz, is the sax player, the Grammy sax player, David Cause, and that is his real last name. Yeah. But I am through and through from Houston. So anyway, now speaking of gig apps, and they're more of an afterthought now. This is the other one. You actually sent me this text message or link about it. GrubHub being finally sold. JustEats finally were able to get rid of them. They bought them for $7.3 billion back in 2020, and they almost immediately had buyer's remorse. And they've been trying to unload that headache ever since.
I mean, it even attached its wheel to Amazon and couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's the cowbell. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the cowbell.
But GrubHub, speaking of which, GrubHub was actually number one in the United States. It had the number one market share back in 2019.
Oh, and not only that, when you talk about 2019 or prior, they were the only one being transparent.
Mm-hmm.
If you remember, they were fully transparent to the drivers. Here's what you paid.
Yeah, well, and it's still like that. But I remember when I got on in March 2020, because what it was is that I kept seeing these guys coming in with these red bags with GH on them and stuff. I'm like, these guys making some money. I need to get a hold. And I got on just before the pandemic or the shutdowns were announced. Right. And for a while, between DoorDash and GrubHub, those are my two money apps. And they had a minimum at the time. It was a $10 minimum each order. And then it dropped to $9, then it dropped to $8, and then all of a sudden they were no different than DoorDash and Uber Eats, and the former Bite Squad, or called Dork Squad.
Yeah, but I mean, but even under the umbrella of Amazon, they couldn't do it. I mean, that's But hey, this company, another European company, bought them though.
Right, Wonder. And
at first, by the way, guys, I'll just even admit it. I was like wondering if it was like one, and don't think I'm stupid. I thought it was like Wonder Bread and Hostess. I'm like, why are they buying GrubHub?
No, I didn't have that thought, but I saw where the guy was. He was an investor with Walmart. I think he made his money off of Walmart, and supposedly, if you go to their website, they're supposedly pairing up with these chefs and some of the better made food and all. Right. And they're saying that their orders would be ready in 35 minutes or less. If they're saying that, they're opening the door for another Domino's.
Yeah.
And that's an old 20th century news though, for those people who don't know. But Domino's had if we don't get your pizza to you in 30 minutes or less, you get it free. Well, there was a driver who was killed somebody frying. He used it as his excuse, was under the pressure of getting pizza there 30 minutes or less. And Domino's took away that promo line there.
Oh, I actually remember that. I remember them taking it away too. People were like blowing red lights and like putting everybody in danger. Like.
Well, and Steve's from Detroit. Steve's from Michigan, so and Domino's Little Caesars is from Little Caesars is the Detroit,
because that's the Illich
Tigers
family.
guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Almost got it mixed up there. So yeah,
but no, we had Domino's too. I just remember this. I remember when they were like, "Dude, you guys need to stop these 30 minutes," because I remember it was somehow it was on the driver.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that just blows my mind. That's almost worse than these gig apps. Like, you'll be there in 30. Well, it's snowing, and
yeah,
we'll just make it, man. I don't care. That's our rule.
Well, I mean, that was his way out. I mean, look, he turned. His attorney probably told him to turn it on them, and then they're suing the money, and the money was Domino's and not the driver. So
right, yeah, but I mean, just what a chance you're taking as a driver. Like, basically, you're saying I'm gonna break the law all night.
Let's see here. Let's see. Well, I hope they got GrubHub cheaper than $7 billion. Yeah, GrubHub was bought for $650 million. Brian.
Yeah.
Brian has been a commenter on my channel. In fact, hell, Brian, I'm telling on you, man.
Brian
but you actually,
a long time too.
Yeah, he actually found my LinkedIn page as well.
So he's a stalker too. What's up, Brian?
No, I'm not gonna say that.
No, but $7 billion. Yeah, way.
Yeah, they were bought for $7 billion, and basically they lost 90% on this, and so that's But now what I also read was that Chase tried to get the valuation sell to 1.2 billion, but they couldn't get that type of money on it. So they really just unloaded that. Hey.
Gary Middleton had a great quote. I sent him the article too when it about it selling for that. He texts me immediately back and he's like, I would like to see this company just go down in flames. And I mean, like, in a good way, he meant it. Like, show up the other guys, like, just undercut everything they do and go down in blast of glory. I'm like, well, they still have $650 million worth of value, so I'm pretty sure the investors aren't cool with that. But I heard what he was saying. It sounded fun, like, show it up, like, be completely transparent. Hey, this is how much it really costs. Make it like a third the price.
Now, I'm going to go into one this is going to be the last topic since we've got about 15 minutes left. I said I was going to stay on for about an hour tonight. They could just sell their bags. Oh boy, I actually still got a couple of my original GrubHub bags. They're in the closet.
He is right. He said it above too about the GrubHub bags are the best. They really are. I mean, compared to the other ones anyway. Like, DoorDash are just trash. The zipper will break the first time. But GrubHub does. I still have my GrubHub bags, and I haven't done a GrubHub order in years.
Wow. That sounds like me with rideshare.
Yeah.
Now, your thing and my thing, I guess you'd say, in terms of where among gig apps, where we make the larger percentage of our money is on the last mile gig delivery apps. And one of them is Rodeo that everybody talks about. But the one that Steve is, he actually helped get me onto the app, and that's Curri. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions, Steve, since I haven't been able to ask them any questions. And because you can't get a hold of anybody.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know what I'm talking about then, but I'm going to ask you questions. First of all, since you do have like I said, you have a lot more interactions with the company than 99% of us. Had they articulated any positive changes coming down the road for drivers?
Yeah, first of all, I think Curry's held up, and this, not paid for this, you guys. I've been on Curry for over 3.5 years. The first 6 months I was on it, I was working with Curry directly. I was doing promotions, and they're like, help us get drivers in every city. Now there's a wait list in every city. So I did my job. I did what they wanted. But I developed a lot of friends in the team. I've interviewed the CEO a few times. I know all of the people. And there was a driver advocate who was around for about 1.5 years who just recently left, Jesse. He was amazing. He really listened to all of us. Not that they don't, but the pay has stayed up there. I know some people might argue the volume's not or whatever, but I think they have done better than most companies, almost all, at really caring about the drivers, even as they grew. They've been around for a while. But when I started with Curry, you called, you got a rep. There was no in-app support. You got somebody on the phone in about a minute. Then it turned to you needed in-app, and then it could escalate to phone people. Now they've pretty much moved that out. They're also changing around. They're not getting rid of people, but they're changing their positions. Like, you're going to be this, you're going to be this. And there's a lot of movement right now. And so I do have a lot of channels, and I've been trying to, with when Jesse was with the company up until 2 weeks ago, every week I sent him a 5 to 10 minute video of the good, the bad, and the ugly is what I called it every week. A video of a good, a bad, and an ugly situation I had that week on the app. And he was helping integrate that kind of stuff. Now it's really just, if you're not on an active one, it is very difficult to get the teams. You can email drivers at curri.com.
No.
But even that can fall into deaf ears sometimes.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have when I email them, and I send them a very detailed email, and then they still ask me some dumb rudimentary question like, what order is this? Yeah, I'm about to blow a gasket. But yeah, I mean, I look at how the bot is set up. It's a bot, and then you may get a hold of someone. I saw where someone was in Ukraine. A couple of folk were in the Philippines.
Yeah. Well, they've now moved that back to in-state, but still they do this thing now with flow screens. And sometimes the flow screens aren't what you need. Or sometimes it'll say, your problem is that they can't find the package or whatever it is, and then it'll take you on a couple flow screens that says, okay, we'll take a picture of it. They can't find it. And you can't get somebody or something like that. I mean, so those kind of things happen for sure. But, I don't know. One thing with, for me, I guess it helps to have been through all I've been through with Curry, because I know how to kind of get through a situation or whatnot. The best thing you can always do is, when you're active on something, if you have a problem, pause and contact them, because they are good about they'll get back to you within 10 minutes of an active order if you request help. So at any point, don't keep moving forward. Stop, pause, and hit that, and find a way to get connected with them or leave a message. Because if you're active, they do treat it very quickly.
Okay. Well, now
but it's a problem, like you said, because when you're not active, you might have a question about, hey, wait a minute, I had this offer and it was going to pay $500, but I had to drive 50 miles to it. I drove 44 and it disappeared out of my queue. I've heard this before.
Ooh.
And so it's like, once it disappears, now what? How do you're not active anymore? So now, good luck. This becomes a very big problem. Like, how do you get, and there's really not a standard for that. What are you going to give me, $5? And even if that, how do you get the $5? Because you can't get help.
Right. So are they aware of this problem?
Yeah, I've made them very aware. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes to my fault. So for all of you guys, I do point out everything. And sometimes I take it to Matt Lafferty. He's the CEO. But I very rarely do that, because every time I do, I swear, every time I do, I get calls from 3 or 4 other Curry people the next day going, why didn't you just call me, dude? Why'd you have to call Matt? Like, going, well, obviously it worked.
Well, if you can't answer the question, I'm going to find someone within my Rolodex to get the answer. And so obviously you're sitting on a half of a cheek now because of your inaction.
Right. You know
That's
what I mean?
a nice
He's
way of
not going to
saying
be
it.
the guy. He's not going to be the guy to solve it, but they use that, whatever it is, Vine or whatever, within the company. And when Matt sends out a Vine, everybody in the company gets it. So he literally has used my name before. Steve in Denver had this happen. What is going on?
Mhm.
So everybody in the company sees this. And they're like, damn.
Then it's a bad day. Now, I'm sharing this with y'all since this is the first one. If it looks like I'm looking down, it's only because I've got this set up where I'm not using my computer camera. I've got a camera set up on this other screen in back. So when I look up, you see my eyes much better though. But anyway, this gives me, the way I've got it set up, it gives me a lot more flexibility with working everything that y'all see here right now. So anyway, now one thing with curri, what I've seen though is how they almost expect for you to break land speed records to get to the pickup location. I mean, you can actually lose an order from them if you don't go there fast enough. If you're not heading in that direction within a certain period of time, they will take that order from you.
Or if you're not moving.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't move at all, like, I think it used to be 5 minutes. I don't know. I always get moving.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not moving within 5 minutes, you have about a 2-minute thing to get moving. They even send you a little alert saying, are you stuck in traffic? Hit help. If not, we'll left on a sign, and they will. And same as you said, because too many people were stacking offers. And with curri, they've always said, this is not an app to stack offers.
Mm-hmm.
But even here's another thing too, within the curri app, I used to be able to stack my own offers within curri. So I would see like Sherman-Williams is a big client. I would see that Sherman-Williams has the big center. There's a bunch of them around Denver, but there's a big super center down south. I'd see, okay, we have a batch of 280. Okay, we have a batch of 320 pounds. These are all pounds of industrial paint. And then we have a batch of 250. I'm like, okay, my car holds about 950. I know that. I've done this. And so I'd see they're all going within a mile of each other, like 20 miles away too. And I'd grab them all. And then curri got like, you can't do that. Why? Even the place preferred that I do it over having 3 curri drivers come.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know this. Some people that know you would rather you come and just, you're organized.
Yes.
You got it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. They don't want to have 3 drivers and one doesn't show or.
Well, I've heard some other stories of folks showing up there that did not have the capacity to handle the orders, and they would ask if they can leave their stuff here while they take it, or some crazy shit. But that's on the carrier side. But then again, what I've also noticed is that this is just my supposition. This is just my theory. What they've done too is they've pitted the driver side, your side, to the carrier side as well. So orders that would come across, you would think just for carrier side, are now you're competing against your side as well. So they're really going for the bottom dollar. But that's just my if I'm wrong, correct me. But that's what I've kind of put one and one together to be.
I mean, I'm obviously left out of all the fun. There are some people who think, I'm not kidding. There's some people who think I either own or have part ownership of curri.
Well, you've talked so much about them, that's
I mean,
what
there
it is.
Though. I've had people be like, dude, you're in on curri. I'm like, in on it? No, dude. I do know a lot of people, but I'm not collecting a profit check. I can tell you that. So.
Well, y'all, hey, we've gotten through 55 minutes. So I'd like to think I've done pretty well for this first one.
Yeah.
Considering that I've not done any type of live thing since March 2010.
Did you really doubt yourself though?
Yes.
Did you really?
Yeah, man. I mean, this is completely different. Like I said, I mean, when you got a computer screen and you got phone calls coming from all over the place, okay, then you work in the chat room like I'm working, and then you also had, of course, with it being using a landline phone and all, I had a script that I stuck to.
Right.
All I did was just scribble down a couple of notes on this one, but still, the fact of the matter is that I'm 15. I'm 14 years going on 15 years removed, and so, Steve, you made it a lot easier. That's one
Well, I
thing. You made it a lot
consider,
easier.
I mean, I consider this easier with you than some of the other people doing it who've been doing it a while. I mean, just because, I mean, it just shows you got your experience, or you can tell. I can say this show will be as successful as you want it to be. I hope you're doing it on audio podcast too.
I'm looking in the Podbean.
Okay,
I think.
that's where I am.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm looking in the Podbean. So we'll see what happens there. Steve, if now this is what I used to do with the actual Blog Talk Radio thing. Just give me a little bit of what you're doing, what's down the pike for you, and while I'm at it, I got something else. Let's see here if I do this thing right. You'll like this.
so I got so what's big on my horizon right now, first of all, my son graduated high school back
That's
in
Max.
back in May. He was looking at going into sports medicine. Then he was looking at becoming a nurse. Now he's looking at sports medicine again. So we're looking at a couple different colleges, and to get him started,
Thank you very kindly.
and to get him started in the following year, because he'll be 19 a month
How do y'all
before
feel out
school
there?
starts. And then the big thing that's really coming up for me is I keep working these gig apps, but I got search and rescue starting.
Yeah, that's right. That's your thing, man. During the
That's my thing,
wintertime,
yeah. That is my
You wanna
thing.
go there?
right? Can you hear that?
Yeah,
I'm gonna take you there, baby. Just
That's
hang on,
right.
okay?
Take it there, baby.
yeah.
I'd rather be with you.
Before-
That's anyway, y'all. That's William
Let me come out my
Bootsy
sheet so you can
Collins.
see what I'm doing.
Yes.
His brother's name is Phelps Collins. William Bootsy Collins was James Brown lead bass player. He actually he's got the JBs to go up another level. This
Yep.
was back in 1970, 71. When James
This
Brown
all night,
fired
it's gonna be all right,
his initial band, he had Bootsy in the wings ready to go. So, yeah. Now,
Just so you
this
guys
is-
all know, Geezer and I could do an entire podcast on just funk.
Not on drugs, but
I'm not kidding, because we all know, him and I both know a lot about these people. So I don't know. This could be a whole thing of its own.
Yeah, and so and I call him thanks SB, thanks Rideshare Rodeo, Road Warrior Rideshare Road Warrior Rick, Brian, thanks for coming through here, delivering with Ellen, thanks for coming through here. I start calling Steve Funk Master,
Sometimes
and so. And the reason is that when we have messaged each other, the word funk is in some of our words,
Oh,
kind of like
okay.
Batman.
sometimes it's
Yeah.
coming with a whole lot
Like
of
Batman.
a whole lot of touches.
Yeah. Does anybody have change for funk? Get the funk out of my face.
With the fingers,
You want to fuck around with
as
me?
well
Come on.
as other parts of the body.
You can fit it in anywhere, guys. You just have to have a little rhythm, dude.
That's right, baby. I can't function with you. I just cannot function with
Let this
you.
woman know how much you
See,
get
this
her,
could
how
drive
much you
people
get her.
nuts if we were like at a dinner table.
In keeping with that trend, ladies and gentlemen,
I'm
we the members of
mishearing you
Boosters Rubber
guys.
Band would like to
Now that guy there, the guy who's talking, I believe that's Maceo Parker,
that's to everybody and
the
to
sax
the
player
ladies.
for James Brown. If I'm not mistaken, that's who that guy is. And then there's Peanut and the other guy. They're the two with
This
the
is our way of saying thank you.
Yeah,
different voices.
you had Fred Wesley too.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I remember when I heard stories of Bootsy throwing joints out into the crowd.
Oh, if that's all he threw out there, good. We know they were doing that. I just listen when you get to, when you get to the
Triple R,
King George, like there was a lot of things going on.
A whole lot of kisses and a whole lot of touches. Thank
But-
you
B,
very
thank
kindly.
you
out of
as
it
well.
comes some of
I
the
can
some of the
remember at
greatest
beginning
music
the
of all
segment, we
time,
spoke
though.
of a group of young men
Right.
originating out of Cincinnati, Ohio. We failed to mention
That's
names,
right. They're from
many names in the birth
Bootsy is
signs
from
and things of that
Cincinnati. That's the other thing.
sort.
And
Sometimes we don't have time to
Bootsy
go into
Collins,
that.
in fact, he
But what
is
we feel
who
that is
really
absolutely necessary
took
and what we
George
must
Clinton's
do each and every
Parliament
night
and the Funkadelics and the P-Funk movement to another level. So,
Oh, yeah. Huge.
yeah. That was a big part. In fact, and then Bootsy kind of went off on his own with Bootsy's Rubber Band and all.
Yeah. And they were hanging out with Sly Stone.
Yeah.
So you had all three of those bands, like just
Peanut and Bone.
interchange-
That's the other guy.
And his partner, Peanut.
And you had Glenn Goins, one of the most amazing guitar players. And, oh, it's just never ending. Everybody, people don't. I don't think a lot of people understand that everybody on this stage is like one of the or some of the most amazing musicians.
Right. Yeah, SB. I mentioned that about being James Brown, lead bass player with his JBs, and then I mentioned that with George Clinton. Yeah. But thanks for the he knows what I'm talking about.
Bootsy has a bass school that you can take online. Did you know that?
No, I didn't, man.
Yeah, you can take it. I've been tempted. I just don't have the time. I've been so tempted because how cool would that be?
All right, y'all. So I'm gonna end the stream at this juncture. I'm gonna keep it on for Steve, because that's kind of what we do when I've been on the last handful of his videos. But y'all, again, thanks for coming through here, and hopefully y'all join the damn conversation next time around.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.